guys, welcome back to the Big Sew Along. I'm Ginny, and as always, I thank you very much for choosing to spend some time with me. Today is mostly going to be about just a little recap of my New York trip for you guys. I do have a little bit of sewing to talk about later in the video, so if you want to skip over this part and just go straight to the sewing, I will leave a timestamp for that for you all below. Meanwhile, I'm going to start talking about my New York trip, and I hope you'll excuse me. I have my pictures on my phone and I need those for reference. So if I'm looking down, ignore me. The first thing I want to tell you about is we stayed at this hotel called 9 Orchard, which is on the Lower East Side. I guess that's kind of Chinatown-ish. That neighborhood is still pretty gritty and cool. It's not like a scary neighborhood or anything. It's just not like really refined. It's not very gentrified or anything like that. It's super, super cool. The whole neighborhood is just chock full of tiny little mom and pop stores and restaurants. I don't know New York very well, but if you were looking to shop vintage, this would be like the place to go, because there were like a multitude of vintage stores there, and also other like small designers and stuff. And some artists too, like there were a couple of jewelry artists who had boutiques there. Their stuff was not inexpensive, in spite of the fact that the neighborhood is not fancy. And one of the vintage stores I went into had like a lot of big name designer vintage from like the 70s and 80s. So they had like Issey Miyake and Yves Saint Laurent and Dior and stuff like that. And their stuff was like outrageously expensive, but it was really beautiful to look at. Anyways, the hotel we stayed in is called the 9 Orchard. I'll put a couple of pictures up here for you. It's a really cute little boutique kind of hotel. They have a really lovely restaurant called the Corner Bar, where my husband and I ate dinner our first night there. It was amazing. The food was delicious. The service could not have been better. It was so lovely. And then they have this really cool bar also in the hotel called the Swan Room, which we went to our first night there, and then we went back there with our friends on Friday night. And that is like a super like hip and happening kind of bar. It was really cool. Like they didn't have live music or anything like that, but they had like tons of all kinds of people from all walks of life in there, and it was fun, just like people watching in that place. They also have a really cool lounge on the second floor with this amazing fireplace that's completely covered in these giant green circular tiles, which is something I hadn't really seen before, but it's super, super cool. I think this hotel was originally a bank in the early 1900s. I'm not really sure about that, but I think it was a bank. Anyways, so aside from that, we also had dinner at a couple of other restaurants, and I cannot remember the names of them, but they were both amazing. They were both restaurants that focused on like small plates and like local foods and stuff. The food was amazing on everywhere I ate. It was really good. We just ate breakfast at the hotel. I guess when you stay there, they have like a complimentary breakfast, which doesn't seem like it would be like that great, except that for them, you just go to the restaurant and order off the menu and it counts as your free breakfast. So that was pretty cool. Okay, so then on Saturday, I met my friends. My friend Rebecca, you guys may remember, she painted a piece of fabric for me a while back, and I used that to make a Chris Wood Sews envelope top. She lives in Brooklyn with her husband Michael, and my best friend is her sister. So we all met in New York. We went to Chelsea to go to a couple of galleries. My friend Rebecca has other artist friends, and one of them had a show at one of these galleries. So we went to see that, and there was an Annie Leibovitz show in the same gallery. That was really cool to see. Then we went next door, and I can't remember the name of the gallery that was next door, but we saw a Kara Walker exhibit, and I'll show you a couple of her pieces here. I think she's mostly known for doing these like sort of silhouette things, and she's probably pretty famous in the art world. I just am not very familiar with that, so you guys may have heard of her. she does have artwork in like a ton of museums and stuff across the country. I was completely blown away by her artwork. It was just amazing. And then next door to that was another gallery where we went and we saw a bunch of sculptural pieces and something else there. Anyways, the galleries were really, really fun. I haven't gone to a gallery in ages. Like, I can't even remember the last time I went gallery hopping. So that was interesting for me, just to do something completely different, and it was super, super fun. When we left the galleries, we walked right past the Comme des Garçons store, which is right there on the same street as the galleries in Chelsea. I have never been to a Comme des Garçons store itself, so that was really cool. I wish I could get a picture of the, if I can find a picture of the front of the store, I'll put it up here, because they have this amazing like door that looks like it looks like a cave with a glass door. So the door, so it just looks like a big open cave. It was really, really cool. Some of the things I saw in there, and these aren't terribly like different than other things we've seen, given that we all sew and are familiar with mixing fabrics and stuff. But they did have these shirts that I really, really liked that mixed two different prints that were really, really similar. So like stripes on stripes, which again isn't like that unheard of, but I just love the way that they did it. I thought that was really cool. And here's another one of those. And then they had this, which you could totally make this, maybe even from a thrifted piece. This is a 100% wool jacket that they made the jacket and then boiled it instead of using boiled wool. It was amazing. It was also super tiny, so I guess if you were going to do that in real life, you'd have to be prepared for it to not turn out. But anyways, this was really super cool. And then after that, my Missy and Becky and I went and had lunch in Soho. We just had lunch at a little Italian like divey place that was really, really cool, and the food was delicious. It was really cozy. And then we just walked around Soho for the afternoon, and I didn't really do a ton of shopping. I did buy one t-shirt at Comme des Garçons because a t-shirt is all I can afford at Comme des Garçons. But so you'll eventually see me wearing that, I'm sure. But in Soho, we did go over to the Rachel Cummey store. You guys have heard me talk about Rachel Cummey before. I use her often in my inspiration videos, and I really loved a lot of her stuff. I have a couple of pictures of here that I wanted to show you guys. This pair of jeans, and the pictures here aren't great. I couldn't take pictures in the store, so I just took these off the website. But they look like just sort of a straight pair of jeans, and then they have this black wedge inset on the sides, which I thought was a really cool idea for upcycling a pair of jeans. She also had this sort of chore coat here, which is a longer version. I think hers has, I'm sure hers had like a corduroy collar and like the patch pockets and everything. But I really liked this in this longer version, and I thought that could be really cool to use. There are tons of those chore coat patterns around now. So that would be really cool to use one of those patterns for and just make it longer. This one, I think this wasn't in a wax canvas. It was just like in a, almost like a heavyweight denim canvas. And then she had these really cool pants. They're just elastic waist pull-on pants, but they're in this, these are in a quilted like knit fabric. I did think these would be super cool to make for ourselves, just with like a regular, like any sort of jogger pattern. If you left off the elastic at the hem would look, that's what these pants were essentially. And this is just a quilted knit, and I thought that was really cool. Then we walked past, you guys may remember I was talking at some point about wanting to buy some yellow Doc Martens. So I, of course, didn't find any yellow Doc Martens when I was there, but I was looking for shoes. And when we were walking around Soho, we walked past the Echo store. And I like Echo shoes. They usually have something that's a little funky and quirky, but as a general rule, I think of them as mom shoes, because my mother loves Echo shoes and she wears them all the time. So you can imagine my surprise when I walked by the Echo store and saw these, and these, and these. They had some super, super cool looking shoes. I did buy one pair of boots from them. It looked like, I don't think I have a picture of it because they were on the their sale rack, so they didn't have them on the website anymore. But they're really cool. They're along these same lines. If you haven't looked at Ecco for a while, you should check them out, because I have to say, aside from being really comfortable and great walking shoes, they had some pretty funky stuff, and I was actually really impressed. Okay, I actually think that is almost all I have to tell you about my New York trip, except my favorite thing about my New York trip was meeting Faith. And here is a picture of Faith and I. Faith met me Friday afternoon. We got to New York on Thursday, so Faith and I met on Friday afternoon, and we met in front of Mood. We did go shopping at Mood, but only briefly, and I'll tell you why. Mood, as anybody who's been there will know, is in the middle of uptown. It's in the middle of everything. It's very, very busy. Mood itself is, I don't know, I think it's 3 floors of fabric. It is really overwhelming. If you don't go with something specific in mind, you could just end up wandering for days. Now, my friend Marcia and her daughter do that all the time, and they really enjoy doing that. For me, that's just super overwhelming. I have a lot of fabric, and I don't really want to buy fabric just to buy it. So it wasn't very smart of me to go there without sort of a plan. The only plan I had was actually to meet Faith there. The good news about all of that is that Faith turned out to be such a lovely, charming person. And I should preface this by saying that Faith is a loyal viewer here of the Big Sew Along. And when I said a few months ago that I was going to go to New York, she immediately contacted me via Instagram and asked if we could meet up. So I did meet her. I don't even know what to say about Faith, except that she was a lovely and very inspiring person. So we ended up standing out front of Mood for a little while, and then we moved inside, and I was trying to get some information out of Faith, like about her life and her work and what she does, and she actually seemed a little bit reluctant to tell me at first, but I'm really good at prying. So she did eventually tell me that she and her husband are missionaries. And I should say before I go into this that I am speaking here from a place of complete ignorance. So I hope I don't use any verbiage that's offensive to anybody, and if I do, then please just accept my apologies. Faith and her husband are missionaries, and I asked her what exactly that meant, and she explained that she and her husband essentially travel the streets of New York every day, checking on I guess I would say the homeless and people in need, and people who are in precarious situations, emotionally, financially, physically. They spend their time developing friendships with those people, so that when the time comes, those people trust them, and they are able to help them find food and shelter and medical care, or just a loving shoulder to cry on, whatever they can do to help those people in their daily struggles. I will say I didn't know that people did that kind of work. My mom does a lot of charitable work via her church with people in precarious situations, but she's definitely not a missionary, and she doesn't travel through the streets helping people. I honestly didn't know that people did that in this country. Like I said, I'm speaking from a place of complete ignorance. I always thought that missionary work was really something that happened in third world countries. After talking to Faith about this, I realized that this isn't the kind of work that just anybody would jump into. She said that for her it was a real calling, and I believe that it really has to be for you to be able to do that kind of thing. I know I certainly would not be able to do that, but I also know what I can do is help my friends, and that is what I'm going to pledge to do for Faith and her husband. Any funds generated by this channel between now and Christmas, I am going to donate to them in an effort to keep them going in their good and selfless work. If you would like to join me in that effort, that is easy enough to do. You can just watch my videos and sit through the really annoying commercials. That helps. You are also able to make a one-time donation via the extra thanks, the super thanks. It's called super thanks button, and that is on the lower right hand corner of your screen, I believe. Or you can also make a donation via my Ko-Fi account, which I will link in the show notes below. I don't have any way of proving to you guys that I'm going to follow through on this, but I do promise you from the bottom of my heart that any funds I receive from any of those places will be donated to Faith and her husband on Christmas Day. Now, that is my whole New York trip. Let's talk about some sewing. I did make another pair of Closet Core Mitchell trousers. This time I made them in this crazy yellow and black plaid. This is a polyester twill. It does have a little bit of stretch to it. I got this from Latoff Fabrics more than a year ago, I'm sure. So I know they don't have it anymore because I got the last piece. I don't even know really why I bought this, because the color's not a color I really wear very much, and it's polyester, so that's not something I wear very much. But I super, super love this plaid, and it has sort of, to me, it has sort of like a punk vibe to it, which is right up my alley. The only thing I did different between these pants and the first pants is I did lengthen them 1 inch. I think in the first pair, I shortened the original pattern 3 inches, so this would be 2 inches shorter than the original pattern. I think I did a pretty good job on working with my plaids and checks, but here you can see where I put the front pocket on. My plaids were off by just a smidge, and that was really not about cutting. I actually think that I cut it fine, but when I sewed that back pocket piece on, I wasn't paying attention to lining it up with the front of the pants, because I forgot that that was the part that was going to be showing. And I didn't realize until after I had them all together. Anyways, I do have a picture here where you can see that the rest of the plaids match up pretty darn well, and I was really happy with them. I also am not crazy about, this happens to me all the time whenever I do a fly front. You know how you're supposed to put those bar tacks on it to hold the fly facing in place? I just never like the way mine look. If you guys have like a setting, you know what I mean? Like how long, the problem is I always make it either too long or too short. So it looks like a dot or it looks like a big string. I can't quite get the length of those bar tacks correct. So if anybody has a recommendation for how long you make those bar tacks, let me know in the comments. I will also say that I'm pretty happy with my welt pockets. I did cut the welts on the bias because I didn't want the plaids to be wonky, and I really like the way that came out. Again, I have nothing but good things to say about these pants. This is the first time it might be the first time in my life that I've ever made the same pattern twice in a row, like once and then immediately cut another one. That's how much I love these pants. Alright guys, I think that is it for me this week. Until next time, I wish you all happy sewing.